There it goes.
Oh, we are in there. I think we are live, ladies and gentlemen. What's up? It's your boy, the Pogues. How you doing? We back for another round. It's your boy, KJ Bradley, with the best chaplain in the world, Mr. Chaplain Lance O'Neill, who is fresh off of his Masters round tournament attendance, which was a bucket list item for him. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. By the way, we got a very fast show today. We're going to try to keep it about 35 minutes. Fingers crossed. So we're gonna get right into it. So what do you think, man? How was it? Was it everything you hoped for?
If you ever have the opportunity to go to the Masters, I highly recommend it.
Really?
It is a phenomenal, beautiful course. When you walk in, it looks like artificial turf. That's how gorgeous the place is. There's no cell phones, so right off the bat, you're just talking to people. I went in, I was able to set up on the 7th and then walk around, and I ended up buying some stuff, and I bought it. You only have one chair, but I ended up buying a chair. I borrowed one. So then I used that chair to sit around while my one spot on the 7th. Now, here's the cool thing. After you buy stuff, you can leave stuff with your chair. It will not get stolen.
Whoa.
Yeah. Just my bag, all the stuff I bought, right there with my chair. People will come and sit in your chair if you're not there. And when you show up, you just tap them on the shoulder and say, "Hey, excuse me, that's my chair." And they'll say, "Okay, thanks." They'll get up and then you can sit right down. No problems. It is the most civilized event that I've ever been to. And that includes chaplain schools. That includes normal, just college classes. It is the most polite, well-run. About the only thing I can think of that I'd like to test is I've heard Japan. Some of the events in Japan are very much like that, just because of the culture as well. But if everybody kind of had the mentality that's required at the Masters when you go, our country would because you can still have conversations and you can but it's very quiet and you just talk to people and there's no anger. There's no, it's a phenomenal atmosphere to kind of mellow everybody down. It's like,
cell phones and everything. You don't even have cell phones or anything.
No, and what's funny is, so I pulled in and I'm sitting in my car. I'm like, okay, well, I better drop a pin so I remember where I park. And then an hour before I'm ready to leave, I'm like, I have no idea where I parked.
No way.
I don't have my phone. I'm an idiot. So luckily I paid just enough attention to walk out and luck out and find my car. But no, just a wonderful, wonderful event. And it very much is a bucket list. Even if you're not a golfer, if you're in the South and you have the opportunity to go to the Masters, it really is just a special event. Now, obviously, you have to like golf at least a little bit, but there was everything. I think the youngest kid that I saw that was actually engaged, probably around 8. I think wow. 8's kind of about the cutoff. I don't think anybody younger than 8. There was a baby out, that I saw, but he was tucked into the papoose. But other than that, everybody, and everybody's just very, very well mannered. And it's funny because I told my younger brother where I was going to be, and I told him the shirt I was going to kind of wear. He's like, "Okay, so I'll just look for the white middle-aged guy and I'll be able to find you." I was like,
yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yep. I'll be right. That'd be easy to pick me out with. Yep. I'll be the only white middle-aged guy. But there were a lot of foreigners, spoke to a lot of different people, Ireland, Scotland, England, South Africa, some Spanish. I heard some Spanish being spoken, Spain Spanish, it sounded like, not Mexican Spanish. And if people say there's not a difference, yes, there is. And so you had, so it was really cool. I talked to an Irish guy that was there for McIlroy, and we were talking. I said, where are you from? And he's from Northern Ireland.
Nice.
And I was like, I'm Irish. I don't have any. And O'Neill, he's like, oh, you're this county. probably from Colton County, and that's where all the O'Neills are from. I was like, is it 1L or 2? He goes, 2. I was like, well, mine's 1. He's like, still might be. And so, but just fun stuff like
That's
that.
cool, man.
Yeah. So it's very, very cool.
Any surprises on the? Any surprises?
Not really. Scheffler played incredibly well, and it wasn't like he went out and just kind of held the lead. He piled on.
Yeah, he dominated. Well, this is
yeah,
second in 3 years, man. The dude is
he's
top.
There's a new kid, the kid that finished second, the Swedish kid, Oland.
Berg, I think it is Berg or something like that.
But because of Spanish, you say, or because of Swedish, apparently you say it with an O, so it's like Oberg.
Ooh,
apparently, okay. I don't know. So somebody there said that, so I mean, I'll trust him. But yeah, he looked great. It's interesting to see the size differences. Some of them are really big, and other ones aren't. Golf. That's one thing about golf that I think is really, really cool. Is it's not, if you're not a monster, you're not playing in the NFL. If you're not 6'7", you're not playing in the NBA unless you're, really, really. There's got to be a lot of stuff go right. Jimmer was what, 6'2", and was out of the league in 3 years, and he was before his time. That just a side note. I think if Jimmer was coming in now, he'd be fine. The way the game's evolved. But with golf, you had these guys. Some of them are just these small. Bugatti, something like that. He can't weigh 160 pounds soaking wet. Dude ripped. I mean, he was just. There were couples, and it's interesting also because I was on the greens for the most part, but there were a few times as I was walking around on the tee shots and just the sound, that whack, you're like, oh, that sounds so cool. Because if you're a duffer and you go out and hit, you're like, oh, I hit one. This sounded good. In 18 rounds, these guys, every single one, just whack, whack, whack. The food is great. It's cheap. It's the first time I went through that was the other thing. How fast they process people. You go through these lines, you're like, oh my gosh, these lines are going to take forever. Nope. You go through, you grab your stuff. It's all right there. You walk up, beep, because it's all electronic. Nobody's fiddling with cash. As you go through, you just grab what you want. I drink. I generally drink diet soda, diet cola, but they had, I think, Diet Coke on tap, which I'm not a huge fan of. So I'd say, hey, can I get a half and half regular, half? Oh, sure. Here you go. I mean, and you just move right through. And so I got the first time through, I got like a breakfast sandwich, a soda, potato chips. I grabbed a cookie. I think something else. I go up and they're like $15.
Definitely not the stadium prices.
Yeah, that's like that. You can't get a soda and a hot dog for $15 at this game.
Yeah,
it's more than, I think it was 18 for those two things.
Yeah.
So just unbelievable. And so when you go back, it's like, I had later on, I had the pulled pork sandwich, $3. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. Even the restrooms, dude, they were pushing, go, get up there. Number 2's open. Go. Like everybody's just going through, peeing, getting out, wash your hands and go. Everybody, the line was for washing your hands, which actually made me feel pretty good.
That's good.
Because you don't get lines most places like Buc-ee's. If you know the Buc-ee's you go through, it's like you still watch people going, did you really just come out of a stall and you didn't even wash your hands?
Yeah, just walk right out the door. You just like
that's. Quick story about that. So I was in doing drill weekend for the reserves, and I was there. We had 2 units in there, and the other unit was doing their reserve duty time. And I'm in the bathroom, in the latrine, and I'm washing my hands. I see a guy come out and walk straight out. He's coming out of the stall, right? Staff sergeant in E6. I'm in E7. He walks out. I'm right behind him, and I follow him. He walks around. And he goes up, and I kind of walk up to him and say, "Hey, man, you need to go wash your hands." He goes. He turns and looks at me, and he sees my rank, and he goes, I put hand sanitizer on." You're gonna double down on me, huh?
Right, bro. Go out.
No. I
Yeah.
broke him off. Yeah, I
Yeah.
broke him off. Embarrassed him.
Yeah.
But he was with the other unit. So the UA from the other unit, who's a master sergeant during drill, but we're friends. He comes over, he kind of shuts the door. He's like, "Hey, man, I heard you kind of, oh, sorry, my sister just realized that I went to the masters and she yelled at me. Sorry,
Ah,
did that cut off? Sorry, uh, I didn't mean to. So anyway, so he comes, he's like, "Hey, you can't do that to my guys." I was like, "Hold on, this is what happened." And after I told him that, wait, he what? He told you he watched? Yup. And he didn't. Nope. Well, are you sure he didn't? Dude, I walked out right behind him. I was washing my hands and drying my hands when he came out. He literally, there is no way. I watched him.
jeez.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Yeah. You know who in the Army washes their hands the least that I found?
Who?
Officers. You'd think it would be the privates, right? Some
You
of
would
these
think,
privates
but
that just
they're
yeah,
so
that just
yeah. It's so
yeah.
beat to them, man. It's almost automatic though with the enlisted guys.
Well, you would just think that. Well, you would think that's the enlisted guys. It's because they're younger. A lot of them socioeconomic issues, so they don't really know about hygiene. You've been around stinky boy privates that don't even know like what shampoo and soap is for.
Yeah.
And so those guys, you kind of go, "Hey, dude, let's have a little lesson." There's a reason the Army has classes about washing your hands and hygiene. And people, if you guys don't, I mean, for people watching, the Army has to dummy it down so far. But like when you're in the field and you're going through to get food, they will have hand washing stations right there. And they will have somebody stand there and say, "Wash your hands, wash
Yep.
your hands." Because if the station's there, some people will use it, but there's a lot who just go right in like, "Oh, I
Like it
don't."
doesn't even exist.
Yeah. But
Filthy.
overall, a wonderful experience. It's off the bucket list. I said if I was able to get a badge next year, I've got a really good friend who huge golf fan. I said if I get it next year, I'll go. You come out. I'll go for the first half. I'll meet you somewhere. I'll let you take the badge for the second half and go in and get in on this because it's a wonderful. It's
That's awesome.
wonderful.
So, do you have a favorite golfer?
Yeah, and he fell apart today. I'm a Tony Finau guy. He's from
Really?
Salt Lake, hometown guy. Yeah, so Tony's great, but he had a rough day. I
I would
think,
clown you, but I'm a hometown guy myself. So,
yeah, when he teed off, I believe he was 5 over, and the last I saw, he was 12 over, and he missed the putt, so he was 13 over. So I'm not sure what he ended at, but not good. He did not have a good day.
yeah,
And
don't play.
Morikawa, who started off tied for the lead, he fell. At one
Yeah.
point, he got down to 3 under, so he'd fallen apart. So, but it
Oh,
was
he
fun. Yeah, it was good.
yeah.
Saw Tiger. I'm happy that Tiger was able to just finish. You could see just in his gait,
He was
he's
hurt.
he's hurting. But yeah, and he did not. I don't believe. I think he quad. I think he had a quadruple bogey on like the par 3 4.
Jeez.
So yeah,
I
I don't
know
know
he
what happened. I
was
just saw the 7.
like 16 over last time I checked. Like he was having a
Yeah,
bad closeout.
yeah. Well, I mean, he was like, I think it was like 10 over yesterday too.
Yeah. My
So
boy
yeah,
Bubba
but
Watson, man. That's my guy, man. That is the home team,
Bubba
right? Yeah.
was Bubba playing today? I don't think he made the cut, did he?
Nah, we didn't. No,
Yeah,
we ain't have a horse in this fight, man. All right, we got to move on to
serious stuff.
Serious stuff. Here we go. So
Serious
boom.
stuff.
All right, the big payback. So I don't know if you heard or not. There was a little bit of an incident where a consulate got blew up in Israel that happened to belong to Iran. Israel, as of yet, has not taken claim for the incident. But Iran
I
is.
thought they did claim it. I thought they did claim it.
Nope, they did.
Wasn't this the one they no, but wasn't it they blew up the building with the generals in, it wasn't in Israel. It was in Wasn't it in Iraq?
Was it in Iraq? I don't
I
think
think it was in yeah, because they killed 2 or 3 of the top
Iranian
the
generals, right?
Iranian generals. Yeah, so this was payback for
It may have
that.
been Iraq. Did
That
they
was in
claim?
military. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They were like, these were guys we wanted.
Oh wait, Israel said that.
Israel, yeah, Israel doesn't back off when it comes to knocking out Iranian top Iranian officials. That's not a
Jeez.
surprise. The surprise to me is that, and I guess it's a good surprise, is that Iran, it was a lot of noise. It was a lot of sizzle with no steak.
It's in Syria. That's why.
Syria, right? So you have, what was it, like 100 different drone attacks, but one injury. A 7-year-old girl was the only serious injury because, like, out of the 100 missiles or drones or whatever, 99 of them got shot down.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's kind of hard to launch a drone 700 miles away. It's like, dude, we see it. Like we we see you. Like
well,
it was.
yeah, the technology difference is just incredible, but you know, I guess I look at it in terms of, as far as how this affects the U.S. I actually talked with a guy a little bit today about this. One of the few political things, but for all the stuff that Trump did, I think it, it, most foreign kind of backed off because they didn't know how Trump was going to react. Like Kim Jong Un was like, "I better stop launching missiles. Trump might actually like blow me up,"
Like,
and
yeah,
people were
that's
like,
the
"Yeah,
we don't.
yeah," and like Putin, people, Putin didn't do anything because he's too friendly with Putin. It's like, well, wait a minute. When Obama got into office, didn't Obama say, I'll meet with anybody. I'll meet with Putin. I'll meet with the Iranians if
He
it
said
leads to."
they never met though.
Yeah, but he said he would, right? That's the point of diplomacy. And so if Russia wasn't doing anything like invading, and we'll get to this, if Russia wasn't invading Ukraine for whatever reason, if it's because Putin respected or was buddies with Trump, well, good. If it was he didn't know how Trump would react and if he would go ballistic, well, good. I mean, that's the thing. I think people outside of America, this, but I think the average American doesn't understand the mentality in the rest of the world is the opposite of war is not peace.
Yeah.
The opposite of war is strength. And if you are respected as a country, you don't get messed with. And that's where people, I don't think they really understand. And that's what worries me right now is, if you're looking at the White House and what's going on in the White House, does this administration, and because I'm active duty, I can only talk about policies. I cannot say anything negatively against any politician. So this is not against any politician. This is an administrative thing and my own opinions about how the administration handles some of these things. But I do not see strength being projected out of Washington, D.C. And I think that affects a lot of things, from foreign policy all the way down to how the troops feel. I think that the average troop is not happy with the current administration, how things are going. I was in a class a few years ago when we had a special forces. I might have said this in a previous one, but special forces colonel that had come in. He was telling us, what I expect from chaplains and this and that, and we asked, different questions. But one of the things he said that really struck out was his frustration that the way we are working in the Army is we are more worried about people's feelings, and China is worried about killing Americans. And I think that as a whole, our military, we're in a really weird situation. I think you'll agree with this. Leaders put soldiers into really, really bad situations over and over and over where they don't get the right planning, they don't get the right support. But the American soldier is so good that he finds a way. So instead of it falling apart and not completing the mission like you're supposed to, the American soldier finds a way despite leadership, despite failures, despite lack of funding, despite all the stuff that you're supposed to have. That when people think military grade, that's a joke in the military. When we hear things like military grade, we all just go, "Oh, you mean the lowest bidder?"
Yeah.
So, like, if I was ever doing Ford or Chevy or whatever, I would never call anything military grade. I want I want my I want my guys, like, actually, I would say this. I would call it Air Force grade, though. That might be okay. But yeah,
Yeah, it's
I
all that
think that,
marketing perspectives.
yeah, but I do think that with Iran, I think this was I think they were saving face. I don't think this was and I hope I'm right. I don't think this was a serious uh, attack. I think this was hey, they came after us and they killed some of our guys, so we have to do something. I
Yeah.
have my dog in here. If you're wondering why I keep him silly, hello, big boy. I do not kiss. I don't kiss my dog though. Um, but yeah, I don't get people that do that. But I think this was for them. It was a saving face. We have to do something, and they're Iranian uh, media is going to be saying we
Absolutely.
killed 4,000 Israeli, and this was they got what they deserved, and yeah, they may have killed our two generals, but among those 4,000 were 18 senior Israeli commandos and blah blah. And so at home they're going, the
Yeah,
Israelis
they
are
got
going, cool, yeah, great, why not?
yeah.
So I think that we are, as a country, I think we are really kind of lucking out as far as that goes, because we don't want to. I Let me ask you something, KJ. Um, what do you think the odds are in the next ever the United States has a war that we are actually the main force on the ground, an actual land operations?
At least 25 years. And I'll tell you why. So the administration is in a peculiar position, right? We don't we know numbers, right? We understand, we have secondhand, or we have firsthand knowledge of the situation of the military. I don't believe that our US military is prepared to or equipped to fight a full scale war, right? Now, does that mean we can't? No, we absolutely can, but we're not prepared for it, right? Our troops are not trained. We're in that awkward transition phase. You kind of see it after every major war, right? You saw it with the guys after Korea, you saw it with the guys after Vietnam, where you have this huge influx of veterans that leave the service, and then you have this new generation of troops where, all right, discipline is slacking a little bit, training is slacking a little bit while we try to reset everything, right? And that's where I feel we are with this generation in the military. So, and then too, not to mention we still got a heavy debt that we're trying to pay off for the last two excursions that we did. So it's not that we can't fight, because there's always money for war. It's just that I think the administration is doing their damnedest not to get involved anywhere it can, and it's easier for us to send weapons packages and aid packages as opposed to put boots on the ground right now. And I think that's unfortunately, that is the best strategy. One, it saves the current regime's face, right? They can say, oh, well, we didn't put any boots on the ground, we didn't have any major conflict started, right? And then two, it still allows the proxies to be handled without us knowing it. And then I agree. Iran does a lot of talking, right? They're like that dog behind the fence, right? As long as they're behind that fence, they are going to bark their butts off. But the minute you open that gate on their fence, they sit down and they be quiet. So when the consulate got hit, they had to do something. And I think you're right. They had to do something. They had to show face. You can't just kill our generals and let us, do nothing because we look weak as a nation. So and this is me throwing my 10-4 hat on, which I seem to be doing more and more often now. I think it was a coordinated response. Hey, we understand this is what happened. We are going to send these drones at you. This is when we're going to send these drones at you.
They may have I don't know if they necessarily are going to.
I don't know if they gave the exact plan, but
right.
They did.
But we saw in the news. It's like an attack is imminent. Oh, it's coming in the next 24 hours, and sure enough, it did.
Yeah.
So you kind of got to go. Well, yeah. I mean, they definitely telegraphed their punch.
Yeah, and it was a way of them saying, "Hey, we're gonna do something, but we don't want no smoke." We just, hey, look, we got to respond, but we're not trying to escalate it. It's just, this is what it is, right? So, in that regard, I'm like, all right, cool. You kind of see the chess game being played behind the scenes when it plays out like this. So I don't foresee it being escalated in anything else. We got 10 minutes. Holy smokes, this thing went by.
Yeah,
10 minutes. So
yeah.
So we'll go ahead and transition into that. That's how I feel. So boom. I think we can ride this out for 10 minutes. Funding priority. So right now, Congress is in a little bit of when they get back from their vacation, they have some issues they got to work out. One of the main issues is the funding priority for Israel or Ukraine. You have the administration saying that, hey, we have to fund both of them, and Congress is like, hey, bro, you can get one or the other, but we're not going to approve both right now. So, what are your thoughts? Who should get the priority, and how do you feel about it?
As you said that, what popped into my head were the 7 million illegal immigrants that have come across the border in the past 3 years, which, by the way, is more. I believe it's this close to the same number that came through Ellis Island over 60 years. I mean, it's insane. And I saw a video of one of these Democrats saying, "Oh, you guys are it's conspiracy. These guys can't come in and just start voting." It's not about voting right now. What it is you take 7 million people and put them in Chicago and in New York and in Los Angeles and all that. You've increased your seats in the House. That's how the House is divided. You have more population, you get more representation. So if these illegal immigrants aren't setting up in North and South Dakota and increasing the population there, the Democrats get better voting. Now, and that argument could be said, well, why don't you just keep them all in Texas and Florida? Because it's a drain. And I've seen other people say it's not a drain. Yeah, it's a net drain.
Well,
okay.
You start to see the voting blocks change too. Texas has been contested blue, and Texas for like decades has been staunchly red. Like Democrats wouldn't even try to fund campaigns in Texas because statewide.
In the 80s, they had the governor, the female governor, who was a Democrat. I'm blanking on her name. Anyway, so it hasn't been that long, but I do think that you're going to have that just naturally in certain places, because like at the same time, what's the explanation that Austin is as blue an island in the middle of red Texas as you can find? It's a city thing. Salt Lake is not nearly as red as the rest of Utah is. You look at Georgia. Where do Democrats want? They want Atlanta and they want Augusta. They want those.
But you're starting to see like Fort Worth and Dallas are turning blue. San Antonio is highly contested, which it shouldn't be. I don't know how it happened, but it's So yeah, I mean,
it's
you're starting
because
to see
it's a city thing. Yeah,
roots.
it's that city versus suburban thing, and
Oh yeah.
you just the populations, and that's where so many people come in. So when you're talking about funding priority, and we're spending, it's so funny. You remember when Trump was like, "I want 5 billion for the wall." We don't have it.
Yeah.
5 billion. We've sent I believe it's over 600 million so far to Ukraine. Israel, my guess is we probably spend 40 to 50 million or 40 billion, 40 to 50 billion every year on foreign aid. Some places, like I know we spend somewhere around 10 billion a year to Pakistan. And people will say, "Well, wait a minute. Why do we send money? Why do we send money to Pakistan?" Well, that's a bribe. We are bribing Pakistan not to try to pick a fight with
Can we
India.
say that?
We
Can we say that?
Well, yeah, of course. That's exactly what it is. It's hey, here's the deal. We will help you with your economy so you don't use your nuclear weapons and start a nuclear war. That is in the national interest, right? We don't have a lot of trade going on with Pakistan. We don't have a lot of interest going on in Pakistan. The one interesting thing we have in Pakistan is they don't like India, and India doesn't like them, and they both have nuclear weapons. Well, we can do things with India where it's not necessarily a bribe because we have the trade and we have the different things going on in India that and they probably do get some foreign aid as well. But I look at Ukraine, and originally I thought, okay, it's Ukraine. I appreciate what we're doing in Ukraine. We're funding Ukraine because what it's doing is basically it's draining the military blood from Russia, which is a good thing, right? Anything that weakens Russia is good for the U.S. Like realistically, geopolitically. But now we're at the point where $600 billion. I don't know where that's gone, and Ukraine has traditionally been one of the most corrupt governments in at least recent history. So we're pumping $600 billion into Ukraine. Well, where's this going? And how much of it is it finding its way back into American pockets? And I don't mean like the war machine. We know a lot's going to go back into the war machine in general. But I'm talking, I'd be really, would it surprise me if they, by the way, side note, when they do these investigations in Congress and all this stuff, it's so stupid because even they could go and find out that, oh, hey, we found out that Ukraine kicked back $50 billion to these 5 senators. 3 of them were Democrats, 2 of them were, let's make it 6. Let's just make it even. They kicked back $60 billion to these senators, these 6 senators, and these 12 House members. There were 6 Democrats, there were 6 Republicans in the House. There were 12, split evenly, and we have proof, and we know what's going on. And well, we're going to censure them. We're going to say that was very naughty. You shouldn't have done that. But hey, that's about all we can do. That's very naughty, boys and girls.
Yeah.
We don't do anything about it. So would it surprise me if they actually went back and audited and found out that millions or hundreds of millions were kicked back to the U.S. and that then, okay, you want tin hat. So the money goes to Ukraine, right? And then it goes to whoever, weapons manufacturers buying weapons from whoever, and then it gets sent back to them, and then it goes into the campaigns. And the campaigns vote money to rinse, repeat. I don't think it's a huge conspiracy. I think that's kind of how the legal kickbacks of this world work, and it's a way these guys make their money.
Money laundering to me.
It is. Well, I mean, okay, you want a flat out. Okay, I will say, to me, that is money laundering. Yes. Another form of money laundering, in my opinion, art. I don't understand how, I don't know, you can be a first time artist who's doing things in art that look like what we used to do in grade school by putting those drops of ink and then blowing them through the straw and making little plants and flowers, and then going and selling them for $600,000, and you're making that money by blind sales because the name of the artist happens to be the same name as the person who resides in the White House. I'm not saying that's money laundering, but that would be wrong for me to make an accusation because I cannot make that. I don't have, but it sure makes me wonder what that means, because like
Well,
that.
I don't know if you remember back in the height of the what were we were GWAT, back in the height of GWAT, where a lot of the senators and a lot of the members of Congress, not just the Senate, but a lot of the members of Congress were getting their hands slapped, especially when we had Cheney for VP, because they were boards and stock members of all these defense contractors, and all these defense contractors kept getting these, insanely grotesque amounts of money. And these dudes were just getting paid, and it kind of got exposed, but nothing, like everything, you hear about it, it flashes across the news screen, and then it just falls away to the wayside. That does remind me of another issue, like the members of Congress who sit on the committees, but then they own stock in the companies in the industries that they're sitting on the committee for,
or they buy the stock after. So there's a guy who went in and he was tracking all of Nancy Pelosi's purchases, and then he would put it online.
Oh,
and
wow.
Nancy Pelosi, apparently her return on investment is better than any professional in any that you find. She just, it's magic how incredible, her prowess is when it comes to investments. And I think the defense is, well, it's not Nancy Pelosi, it's her husband. Oh, well, then as long as it's only her husband. But that goes back to a lot of the things we've talked about with, the congressional stuff and the rules. There should never be a rule that is passed that Congress is exempt from. Yeah. Insider trading, the SEC should be investigating every single one of the, and there should be something like you just said, if you're on a committee of a company and you're investigating a company or whatever, you should not be able to buy or sell any stocks for 6 months, whatever number you want to put on it. And if it turns out that it's a spouse or somebody that connected to, like if Nancy Pelosi was my great aunt or whatever, past, professor because she taught school or whatever, right? And she was calling me up and saying, hey, by the way, you might want to buy this stock. Just, I know you dabble in the market, and let me just tell you. And I got several tips like that, right? Now, that's legal, right? But if my buddy, who is the CEO of a biotech company in Salt Lake, if I called him up or he called me up and he said, hey, Lance, we've got something coming down the pipe, it might be a pretty good time to jump in, that I could potentially go to jail. He could potentially go to jail, be fined, all this stuff. But if it's Nancy Pelosi because she's in Congress, that's totally fine.
Yep.
I don't get it. It's to me, it goes right back to what we've talked about before, which is the people, in my opinion, the people that are in federal government don't really want to solve problems. They want to be there to get rich and be powerful. That's all it is. And the crazy thing about the rich part is, I don't know if you know this, but let's say I ran for Congress, right? And I went out there and I started campaigning, and people started saying, "Hey, we like what you're saying. We're going to donate for you to run," and all that stuff. And let's say I won, and let's say I kept campaigning this and that, and after let's say I've been in Congress for 6 years, and I've decided I'm not going to run after 6 years, but I'm not telling anybody. I don't know yet, right? Or I might still run, so I still need to keep fundraising, and I build a war chest.
Yeah.
Because people have donated. I have a war chest of $5 million.
Yeah.
If I retire, I don't have to get that money back. It's been donated to me. It's mine.
Yep.
I can keep it. So it is. It's. I don't want to say that's money laundering, but it's certainly hinky at the very least.
Definitely manipulating the system.
Yeah, and so that's where, like with Israel, the money that goes to Israel, I'm much more inclined to be okay with what goes to Israel because they are the only democracy in the Middle East. They are a traditional ally to the United States. And before we came on, you made the great point that if something needs to happen in the Middle East or in certain parts of the world that the United States doesn't want to be dipping his finger in, Israel takes the bullet for us, and they go out and they do the dirty deeds, and the Mossad does what has to be done, and the U.S. kind of goes, wow, Israel did some stuff Israel did on their own with absolutely nothing from us.
Okay, but make no mistake, we will defend Israel, and that is unquestioned. We will defend them.
Yep. But yeah, and if you respond in kind, you're gonna have to deal with the 800-pound gorilla. But the other part with what's funny with Israel right now, I have some friends that are very pro-Palestinian and pro ceasefire and all that, and I've pushed back on them because I look at it and I say, look, the very first thing is you got to remember on October 7th, they took hostages. They still have hostages. We've been 6 months, and there are people that we don't know are Americans. There are American hostages, and we haven't seen, in my opinion, we haven't seen enough of saying, "Hey, what the f, dude?
Yep.
You shouldn't be having hostages like this to begin with." But here's the second thing, and this is the other one that cracks me up is genocide. Oh, it's genocide. It's genocide. Look, first of all, the numbers that are coming out of Gaza are being reported by Hamas. And if you believe those numbers, hey, I've got some stock to sell you. Here's the second thing. If Israel wanted genocide, this war would have been over a month after it started. Because probably not even that long. Israel could have knocked out every single building, every utility, they could have absolutely wiped out Gaza in a month because all they had to do was bomb it. They would have bombed them back to the Stone Ages.
I think they would have went carpet bombing.
If their intent was genocide, yes. Why not?
Poor man.
But they didn't. That's the point. They didn't. And you have these people who are defending Palestine and going, yeah, but look at all the damage and all that stuff. It's like, yeah. And if what you do with Hamas is you hide in all these buildings and then you surround yourself with the civilians and women and children, and by the way, as the women and children try to leave, you shoot at them. I saw a video yesterday. Somebody in Hamas. Somebody in Gaza. They were picking up all these chicken that had gone bad, and the translation was, Hamas takes the food trucks, and then they take the food, and then they hold on to it and sell it for more money instead of giving it to us. This is all now rotten because we can't afford it. So all
right, we have met our time, my brother. We went an hour instead of 30 minutes. So
we went 45 minutes. Yeah, that's okay.
All right, next week we got a special guest. It's gonna be fun. We'll see you guys next time. It's your boy and the Chappie. We are out of here.